Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the concept of the released Baker Act. So yesterday I did a video on what I call the lifted Baker Act, where somebody at the hospital says, oh, it's been lifted, but he's not free to leave. And obviously the whole point of that is, well, they can tell you what they're like. If you're not free to leave, you're Baker Acted. I don't care what they tell you. This one deals with a scenario where we've been told that somebody has been released, and yet they go to file to keep him anyway. So here's the scenario. We got retained on a case at the beginning of the week, so 3-4 days ago now, a gentleman who was being detained at a facility, and we got hired to get him out. And before we had a chance to file the case, the facility was telling us, oh, he's been released. He's been released. And I said to my staff, I've handled a lot of these cases and I've heard that story before. What does that mean, he's been released? Is he at home? Has he been released to another unit in the hospital, a behavioral health unit? Has he been released to a facility, a behavioral health facility, a Baker Act receive facility? So just to be sure, I sent my private investigator over to the client's residence. No sign of him. No sign of him. So I instructed my team to file the case, even though the hospital was saying he's released. And wouldn't you know it, the following day we got an order from the judge saying the day before, the facility had filed a petition for placement. In other words, asking a court for an order to extend his detention. And I said to my staff, well, if he's been released, why is the hospital filing to keep him? That doesn't make any sense. The only logical conclusion is that they still have him. Otherwise, there'd be no reason to file to keep him. And so this is just another example where they say, oh, it's been lifted. He's been released. He's been re-Baker Acted. All of this stuff is complete BS. Okay, either the people in the hospital have no idea what they're talking about, or they're just flat out lying to you. And truthfully, I don't really care. The simple fact is if your loved one is in there, if the facility is filing to keep them, the time to take action is right now. You cannot wait. Because what'll happen is they'll file something, you won't know about it, and the reason you won't know about it is because it's confidential, which means I don't have access to it either until and unless you hire us, in which case, at that point, probably the court is going to notify us, hey, Mr. Astor, the facility has already filed to keep your client, right? So if we, in this case where the client was, quote, released, if we hadn't have filed something, there was no way for us to know. So the hearing is in a couple of days, early next week. And so obviously we're going to fight to get him out at that hearing. But had we not known that there was a hearing, I mean, the hearing would have taken place. The client would have gotten, sent to a state facility, kept in the same facility for weeks, possibly months, and no one would have known. So when the facility tells you that someone's been released, unless they're physically in your presence and walking out the front door, I don't believe it, and I'm not going to, and you should fight to get them out. Anyway, I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.